Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamley. As 2023 comes to an end, the Another View Roundtable looks back at the major events that affected us all, and particularly the African American community. Woke culture under attack, books banned from our public schools, attempts to erase Black history from school curricula. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson becomes the first Black woman to sit on the highest court in the land. Just some of the things that happened this year. Our roundtable pundits are here to share the stories that impacted them the most. And we pay tribute to one of our own, Carol Pretlow, as she moves to emeritus status with our show. But first, you know what time it is. It's time to support what you love, Another View. Here to help me usher in our winter membership drive is Another View producer Lisa Godley and radio personality and the best phone answerer on the planet, Dr. Barry Graham.
Yes.
Hey, you guys, how you doing?
We are great.
Oh, good. Now, first, let's give out that number, 800-940-7170, and we have a $2,000 challenge.
Yay. Come on, people.
We love the challenge.
Tell them, Lisa, tell them what that means.
That means whatever you pledge, we're going to match your dollar for dollar until we meet that $2,000. You know, and of course, you can always give more. We love that.
Yes.
Another View always does very well, and we know it's because of you, and we appreciate your support. But don't let this opportunity pass you by. If you want to pledge $20, it's going to be $40. If you pledge $40, it's going to be $80. So let's take advantage of that match money. Let's not leave anything on the table.
Absolutely. 1-800-940-7170 or go to whrv.org and make your pledge of support there. Either way, just tell the folks you are calling because you love Another View. Ain't that right, Dr. Barry Graham?
Absolutely. And we all love Another View, and especially these esteemed guests that are always in the studio with us once a month. And we're just thrilled to be here, and we want you to show your support for the programs that you love, like Another View. So come on, folks, let's go.
Absolutely. And you know, you also can call today, even though this isn't on the pledge list, but call in support of Carol Pretlow. She is moving to emeritus status on our show, which means she's not leaving us, but she just won't be having to schlep up here every month as she goes along. But we so appreciate Carol has been with us in the Another View Roundtable through every iteration since 2011 when we went on the radio. Wow. And so that is 13 years and counting, and we are just so very proud of her. So we're celebrating her today. So call in support of Carol, 800-940-7170. If you love Another View, your pledge of support means that we stay on the radio. Lisa?
That's right. And I want to challenge my Norfolk State Spartans out there to also pledge their support. And Carol is a part of that team.
Yes, I am. I'm a
Behold the green and gold. So this
gold.
is your opportunity to support what you love, to support programming. We love bringing you these conversations, these topics that folks are talking about and giving you our perspective on what's going on. And we're excited about that.
So critical, absolutely. So, you know, you think about public radio and you think about this wonderful radio program that comes your way each week. And I can tell you so much work and energy goes into this program. I see it all the time. So support what you love and acknowledge the hard work that goes on here all the time at 89.5, especially Thursdays at noon. Call your support. And by the way, I just want to throw this in and tell us that you are an NSU alum when you call. We want to announce that.
Well, I'm going to throw that out to all HBCUs. Okay, Bennett College. Come on now. I got to get mine in there, too. And Virginia State, because Daun is here in the house. And Hampton University, because Gaylene's here in the house. And so is Alvean. And so there we go. So, but seriously, folks, we really love the fact that you support us. Your dollars are what help programming at WHRO Public Media happen. A lot of people think we get all the money from the federal government and so forth. You know, grants and those types of funding and underwriting, that's a part of it, but programming is paid for by you, our listeners. So please, if you haven't already, make your pledge of support. Now, if you are a sustainer, and you give every month, thank you, thank you, and thank you. Everyone on our staff are sustainers. Everyone sitting in the room, in the studio with me, is a sustainer or a member of WHRO Public Media. Won't you join us? Join our family. Show your support. Show what you love. 1-800-940-7170. I was talking, Lisa, with someone this week, and they were looking through our archives, and they were amazed at the topics
we've
that
had
we've
a lot.
covered.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some great topics. Think about those shows that you really loved, and it was like, wow, I never thought about that, or wow, I'm so glad they're talking about that. Now's your chance to support what you love listening to. Now's a time to be a part of it. So please make that phone call and support what you love.
Or you can go online if you're listening to us online, wherever you are in the country. Support us. Go to whrv.org, click that donate button, and tell them that you're coming in support of Another View. We really would appreciate it. Dr. Graham, we got 10 seconds.
If your health is better because of Dr. Keith Newby, then call us.
We'll be right back with the show, folks.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. We start by thanking you in advance for your financial support of Another View. Many of you have become sustainers during our membership drive, which means you donate an amount of your choice every month in support of our show and all of the shows on WHRV and WHRO FM, and we so appreciate you. Now, if you haven't become a member, now is the time, and we have a special incentive. Your pledge will be matched dollar for dollar up to $2,000 if you call during this hour. 1-800-940-7170 or WHRV.org are the two ways to make your pledge. Our Another View Roundtable pundits are here to talk about the stories that resonated with them during 2023. Dr. Alvean Lyons is a relationship expert, podcaster, talk show host, mom, all-around great woman. Hey, Alvean, how you doing?
Good afternoon. Hi.
Daun Hester is the treasurer for the city of Norfolk, and she is a consummate politician, well, been in the political arena forever, and an educator, and who cares so much about our folks. Hi, Daun.
Hello, everybody.
Gaylene Kanoyton is the connector. She is a political consultant and president of the Hampton NAACP, and our newest member of our roundtable from this group. So how you doing, Gaylene?
Mary.
Mary. And the woman of the hour, Carol Pretlow. She's a professor of political science at Norfolk State University. Hey, Carol.
Well, hey, everybody. I'm glad to be here and surprised.
Well, we are going to spend some time talking about Carol Pretlow a little bit later on in the show. But I asked each of you to think back over 2023, over the stories that were happening, the things that were happening in our world, in our country, and so forth, that had particular resonance with you individually, but also affected the African American community. So I'm going to get each of you to tell us, and we can talk about those stories and take it from there. So I'm going to start, of course, with Dr. Alvean Lyons. There you go. And she's like, why me?
Oh my God. It catches me every time. Okay. So my response will probably not be what most folks would typically think about, right? And that's not to say that there aren't a lot of people who spend a great deal of time thinking about the things that economically impact communities of color. But I do. As a small business owner and an entrepreneur, a woman of color building business in America, I'm very mindful of what happens in terms of trends, right? And so one of the things that I spent a lot of time paying attention to in this particular year is the financial impact in communities of color of the rising interest rates. And I'm talking about home ownership. And that, while that seems like a very green issues are huge issues in our community. We've fought so hard for any kind of economic footprint in America. right? Our ability to leave anything for our children was deeply connected to our home ownership capabilities. We fought to own a piece of America in neighborhoods that had some measure of stability in terms of their values, right? So when you start talking about the change in interest rates, and I just pulled up a couple of numbers so you understand what I'm saying, but currently, our interest rate sits at about 7.6% in terms of your 30-year fixed mortgage, right? Yeah. So if I were buying a home that was $240,000, my mortgage would be somewhere about $1,700, right? Now, 2021 was where we hit our, according to U.S. News, and they were pulling from Freddie Mac, was when we saw our lowest interest rates, and that was 2.65%, right? And so that same house then would have cost $967. So you're talking about almost an $800 change per month in order to own the very same home. And who feels those economic changes more than anyone else? Our community. We've talked about this many times when we talk about the fact that, you know, when America experiences a cold, the Black community experiences pneumonia, right? So what those lower interest rates provided for us were the opportunities for more and more of us to become homeowners. What the higher interest rates mean is that if I'm a parent who has childcare, $800 is your childcare bill for the entire month that allows you to be gainfully employed. So when I think about things that have major impact, that while they may not be the things that get the top headlines in terms of what's affecting the Black community, they have significant impact. We are lagging behind in home ownership by more than 20% in the United States. So every time that happens, it changes what your schools look like. It changes what your economic power is in those areas. It changes what you're able to do, not only for this current generation, but generations to follow. Home ownership will soon become the golden goose, basically, that if you don't own something, and sometimes multiple somethings, you are going to sit outside of the economic rooms, the spaces where decisions are being made, because you're just a renter. People aren't concerned about renters, but they do care about the economic base of homeownership.
They're concerned about renters as the fact that the prices keep going up.
Absolutely.
And that makes it difficult for people
in that
too.
way. Yeah. But in terms of what my voting base is, who I'm worried about pleasing, how I make sure that things are invested in those communities, it's the homeowner communities that the investment and the time goes into.
You know, it's so interesting, Alvean, that you should bring that up, because those of us who are seasoned remember.
Say it.
Well, not old.
Mature.
Okay.
I'm mature.
Okay.
But I remember when I bought my first home in the 90s, the interest rate was 8 to 10%. Then and people thought that was a good number. That was a good number. And so you know, some it's just interesting to think about the differences in time and how things are. Although I also remember that when the recession came in the early 2000s, and I had sold one house and came back to Norfolk and couldn't go back into that house because the numbers had changed so dramatically.
Can I say one quick thing too before? What's also true about what you're referencing is that was also a time in America that you could work one job, a full-time job, and still be able to take care of you, yourself, and your family. We are not in the same America that allows for someone who's willing to work 40 hours a week to still be able to take care of their family anymore.
Very good point. Very good point. Anybody else want to respond to
housing? Is such a big issue.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
In all
and it's not
realms.
Enough. And it's not enough affordable housing.
Okay.
It really,
Amen.
you see apartments popping up everywhere.
Yeah. Apartments are popping up everywhere because people aren't going to buy because they don't want to pay that
interest
mortgage,
rate.
Interest rate.
Right.
And so, so you might as well do an apartment. But
when you look at the price of the apartments, your mortgage a lot of times is less than what the apartment is.
Mortgages now.
Well, you have to look at who's purchasing too. Younger people make their decisions in different ways than we used to, because many of us were raised. You buy your home, you own it.
That's right.
You maintain it, you keep it, If you buy another house, you still keep that one because that was building your wealth for your family.
Right.
And so our values are different. Our thinking is different. And whereas we stayed in a job for 20 years, young people now, if I give you 2 or 3 good ones, I'm going to find the next opportunity. And I will move to that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so much has changed over time. But even with the housing piece, and I know Gaylene is going to talk about this, affordable housing is an issue. For me in the city of Norfolk, it's always been an issue. I'm going to speak to my city because we tend to build affordable housing in one ward, but we won't put affordable housing in another ward.
Right.
So once again, then you're still discriminating or having that red line, even though that's not what you want to call it, because you don't want to disperse individuals who need some support throughout the city. So, we're still continuing to create the segregated pockets.
Right.
Well, at one time, let me just say this one. I just got to say, my son finally told me, Mom, you were right about general wealth with housing. I mean, and it's the light bulb came on because he reads everything all the time. But at one time it was like, we just pay rent every month. Why buy into a house, when it goes up and down, you pay all these property taxes. And the light bulb finally came on, and he's trying to figure out, okay, do I need to buy a house now? While he's up in Boston area, or where he's going to be permanently to buy a house. But if he's 26 and the light finally came on with it. I've been preaching it forever.
Well, nobody listens to parents.
And we all get there at our own time and rate of speed.
Okay. Carol, you had something you wanted to say?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, piggyback on what Daun said, that when you're looking at housing in Norfolk, the housing that I could afford is also in high-risk neighborhoods, and the security is, so I had to balance, okay, do I want to go to bed at night in a situation that I'm scared what I wake up to, or do I want to rent someplace that it's a little bit more expensive, but I feel safe and secure. So you got those kind of...
Right, you have to weigh all those decisions. And I don't want to disparage my city because I love it.
I know you do.
We know you do.
I do.
There are housing disparities still
everywhere
that need to be addressed.
Let's talk to Stephanie in Suffolk. Hi, Stephanie. You're on the air.
Hi. I'm a loyal listener of you guys.
Thank you.
Although I'm not African American, but
it's okay.
It still makes
we love you anyway.
We're still family.
That's right. We still family, sister girl.
I just wanted to say that it's the housing prices are so bad for everybody. I have a 31-year-old son, and he works in public health, and his pay scale is you get a 4-year degree, you've got student loans, and he can't afford to rent, and he definitely can't afford to buy either. I mean, the prices, even in Suffolk, are outrageous. I don't understand how come incomes are not keeping up with the expenses. We really need to make some changes, and yes, interest rates being lower would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for the call,
Absolutely.
Stephanie. We appreciate that. And you're right, the whole disparity in pay also is a major issue.
Don't even get me started, man.
Okay, let's go to our next topic. Carol, why don't we go to you?
Wow. Well, I started out with one thing, and that was free speech and First Amendment rights. And I was looking at the progression of what free speech rights were and how our society changed to accommodate some changes in perspective. But what I failed to realize or understand was that while these were First Amendment rights, and we looked at participation in parades and broadcasting and boycotts and anti-Semitism, I also at that point was looking at what was happening in Israel and the separation of understanding about Israel and the Palestinian territories. In the midst of all that, though, on Wednesday, I picked up the Virginian Pilot and saw an article that is the view about Norfolk State players and coaches responding admirably to racial slurs. Now, I don't know what an admirable response to a racial slur is. I have been the object of racial slurs, and some people said, well, I should have responded more vehemently. Others said, well, it would best to just be quiet and walk away. And others, sarcasm is my middle name, said that wasn't working. But anyway, as I looked at this and I thought about First Amendment rights and the articles, the courts dealing with this, I began to realize that the courts were looking at an idealistic perspective. And ideally, everybody respects everybody's rights to say things, but they don't deal with racial slurs. And that's because when you look at the court, you have one minority member, two. One's very conservative. The whole idea of perspectives on the First Amendment needs some adjustments, because when you look at racial slurs in the context of the situation in which they're happening, it's very, very difficult to say, well, the Constitution says that they have the right to say this and the right to say that. I'm not sure, because free speech should mean that a person that is confronted with a racial slur gets to respond to that slur. And I mean, they don't have to act violently. That is, somebody calls me the N-word, I don't go over and slap them. But it does mean that in my response, I shouldn't be reprimanded or written up because I do respond to the slur itself. And that came to mind when I looked at this article in the Virginian Pilot about players from Norfolk State being assaulted by a racial slur. And the coach was very, very professional in his approach and his response, but at the same time, I'm sitting there reading, saying, while he was professional, the thing that hurts me is that this is not the last of it. No matter how professional we may act in our response, in terms of the law and what the courts would do about a situation is not very changed as it has been all along. It's like, oh, well, that's no big deal. They'll get over it, move on. And actually, there were no physical ramifications. Not that you could see. Maybe the trauma of it causes a mental situation. Maybe it even causes a physical, like an ulcer, or I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't know. But we aren't dealing with it, and I don't know why.
It's 2023.
Yeah.
At what point do we get to a place where we are treating each other as humans, regardless of the First Amendment? I mean, I get, you can legislate things, but we deal in two worlds there, I think, between what you legislate and then what people do just in terms of being human beings.
Absolutely.
Well, it started off from 2008 when President Obama, 2007 when he was elected, it really started it. And then 2016 definitely didn't help because it peeled everything back. And when I think about the college presidents who were testifying in front of Congress, and how they were ridiculed when they were trying to defend the freedom of speech, although they were being pressed to say that, to compare it to being harmful. And that's a thin line that was there between the two of the facts. I mean, I believe the Harvard president, I think she nailed it. I mean, but at Penn State, she kind of went out there. Yeah. She went out there a little bit or whatever. So
that was a hard position to put them in.
Yeah.
Talking about the presidents now. Because university presidents, private and public, they just learn early on to be non-political.
Well, yeah, because
they're donor-based, the students, the faculty, so that wasn't even their realm. And I thought that the person that badgered them the way I thought that somebody should come back at her,
Me
because she was wrong and she was just trying to get on TV. But that is such a hard position to be in when you're trying to say, overall, this is it, and then this is how I feel.
Yeah.
But really, as a leader, you don't really need to know how I feel, because I'm leading everybody. So I'm feeling everybody's pain. And so I've got to work. Well, you do need to know how I feel, but you have to work at making sure that you are speaking to and representing everyone. And this situation that we're dealing with in Israel, it's just horrible. In all parties. But going back
both
to
sides,
Norfolk State, I was so proud of our coach.
I was.
And his response and reaction, and the young men. I was going to call them the children, and the young men, and how they responded. And Barbara, you said, when is it going to end? I don't think it's ever going to end.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
it's not.
it's so interesting because in reading that article, I didn't realize that this had happened to Norfolk State 11 years ago with this same school. And so,
really?
Yeah. And so in Illinois, and so the coach was saying that he had even debated whether to go, because they call it a money game. I hope I got that right, Max. My husband has told me I don't know sports, but anyway, I think that's what's called a money game, because they get paid, a certain amount of money to go play schools that are outside their division.
Right, and supposed to be better than them, but they've been winning those last two.
Exactly, and they're supposed to be better than them. Yes, but he said that 11 years ago, the same thing happened, where students were called the N-word,
And y'all, it still happens to us.
And I don't blame the coach. I wouldn't pick up the phone and answer the call either.
I was okay with that response as well.
You be like, oh.
But the relationship one needs to really get us all back on track here.
Okay, relationship lady.
No, I mean, ultimately, and I think it's the thing that we're navigating as a society as a whole. And I say this, and generationally, people get on my case about it. They're like, you're only in your 40s, but you're anti-social media. And I am, admittedly. I'm not in its entirety, but what it has dissolved into. And the problem that has happened with social media is a level of comfort with aggression and verbal violence and this disconnection between humans that was magnified by what took place in terms of our forced disconnection inside of the pandemic. And when you start to create the kind of cumulative effect of all of these things, it's just so easy to treat another human as if they are not human. And racial slurs are it's just verbal violence, and our comfort with verbal violence is a reflection of our humanity and our inability to see ourselves, if we take it to a faith-based perspective, as our brother's keepers anymore. We're making these distinctions between who is worthy of value and who is not worthy of value, and a level of comfort with minimizing and being destructive to those that we come into contact with, as if it is nothing.
And go ahead.
But what I can't understand is why we have the same debate. When I was 10 years old, it was the same thing, and I was taught how to get beyond it or to ignore it. I'm sick of ignoring it. I'm 77 now. I don't want to deal with that no more. Is anything going to change in my lifetime? Of course, I'm planning to live to be 125, but
why 125?
I don't know. It just sounds good.
Just sounds like a good number.
And with AI, you might.
Yeah,
you got that right. But I want to make one clarification. It didn't start in 2007. It was always there.
Yes.
It just started peeling back.
Right.
And being vocal in 2007.
That's because of the upset in the order of things. What 2007 did is the having a person of color at the highest levels of the country that sets the tone. It's like the moon. It sets the tide for the world. Was an upset in organizational structure that woke the somewhat sleeping giant that is racism. And then to have that reinforced just years later to empower it at the highest levels, only allowed us to see what it is that sometimes our own very neighbors felt and thought that they had shame for before, but completely lack the shame or editing for now.
Absolutely. You know what? When we're going to take a break in just a minute, and then we'll come back and talk to the rest of you about your stories for this year. This is great. So if you're just joining us, we're talking with the Another View Roundtable about the stories that resonated with them the most in 2023. Relationship expert Dr. Alvean Lyons, Norfolk City Treasurer Daun Hester, political consultant and president of the Hampton NAACP, Gaylene Kanoyton, and political science professor Carol Pretlow. We'll get back to our conversation in just a moment, but first, Lisa Godley and Dr. Barry Graham, how are we doing with our $2,000 match?
Well, Barbara, we are just $345 away from meeting our match, our $2,000 match. So we're really excited about that.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
You know, we could do that in one phone call.
We sure can. Somebody out there. 1-800-940-2240. Oh, no, that's the wrong number. 1-800-940-7170. 940-7170. That's the number to call to make your pledge of support, or you can go online to WHRV.org.
Absolutely. Come on, 345. We can do this. We've had a gangbusters here the first half hour, so we're very excited about that. And thank you to everybody who has called in so far and supported Another View. Your opportunity to voice your support for the programs that you love, especially what happens here Thursday. So give us a call.
Absolutely. 1-800-940-7170, WHRV.org. We are in the middle of a $2,000 match, which means your pledge will be matched dollar for dollar up to $2,000 if you call between now and 1 o'clock. So just go on and make the call. Now, I know you're listening. I know you're out there, and we thank everyone who has already given their pledge of support.
That's right. If you're sitting at home and you're listening to the show and you're shaking your head as you listen to the comments and you're like, yeah, that's right, I remember that, and that sort of thing, you know you're loving what you're listening to, and you want to support this type of programming because you don't want it to go away. You want to continue to hear this every week, and we want to continue to bring it to you. So support what you love. Pick up the phone, give us a call, make your pledge. You know, there's a different feeling when you become a member. There's an ownership feeling there. It's like, yeah, that's my station. I support that station. So make that a part of your day. Do it right now, actually.
Absolutely. And, you know, when I'm out and about in the community and people come up to me, especially in the grocery store, it's just something about the grocery store and me talking in the grocery store, and they go, I know that voice. So, and you always tell me all the time, particularly our non-African American listeners, how much they learn about our community and the good that is happening in our community. Absolutely. And that is just so very, very important. We are trying to bridge that gap, folks. We talk about tough issues because there are tough things that are happening out there, but nobody else is on the radio doing this the way that we do it. So if you love what you hear on a weekly basis and you haven't become a member yet, or if you're a sustainer and you just want to kick in a little bit more, feel free. 1-800-940-7170. Tis the season. Dr. Barry Graham will give you the last word.
We know you're out there listening. We know you love the program, and we know, once again, that's a program worth supporting. And Barbara, I just want to end by saying I love the way you said we are all members. We come to you as part of the WHO organization, but we also come to you as members, asking you to become one.
Absolutely. So join us, please. 1-800-940-7170 or WHRV.org. Okay, Daun Hester, our city treasurer, woman with the money. What's your topic?
No, I have the city's money. I have so many topics, but I'm going to talk about one because I think Gaylene is going to talk about one of the other ones I had on my list, so we'll have everything covered. I wanted to come back to something, though.
Okay.
How can you be a Christian? An evangelical Christian, and have Christian back there. You can be evangelical, but you can't be a Christian and be doing all the things that some of these people are doing. Okay, I just had to get that out. It was a part of the conversation before we went to break.
Yeah.
And so that's one of my just thoughts, and I'd like to have that discussion sometime because I don't understand it.
Love to have that conversation.
So I guess my thing is democracy and government. And so, when it's not working, it's really not working for Black people. And government isn't working at all levels, kind of across the country. We are seeing such shifts in the people who are being elected to fill various offices. And it's not working for all of the people. And government of the people, for the people, by the people. And we have to figure out a way to get it, keep it, track. And then get it back on track. And so it's just, that to me is what bothers me.
Well, the whole idea of government supposedly to take care of everyone, to address the issues for everyone as opposed to just one constituency versus another constituency, seems to be lost in that whole thing. Gaylene, I know you have a lot to say about that.
The thing about it is, and that's right, democracy is definitely lost because it's about personal interests and not for the people. And then you have a president, our President Biden, that's doing things for the people, and people don't know that he's done the most out of out of all the presidents in this period of time, and he's done a lot, and he's been faced with a lot as well.
Correct.
And now he's being persecuted, and then you got your option is going to be that man, really? And then I was watching the news yesterday, and I was watching where the Palestinians, they were speaking. They went to city council meeting in Hampton, they spoke, and I saw them on the news, and they said they're not going to vote for Biden. They'll sit this election out, and then maybe we will learn, what's going on happening to their people over there. But what happens over there impacts us over here. And if you sit at home, it impacts everybody. You're voting for the opposition if you sit at home.
And not only did the Palestinians say that, but also in recent polling, African Americans are saying that they're going to sit home rather than vote, which just floored me.
And actually there's an increase of support for not President Biden. So when you're looking at most of these polls now, they're shifting in a way that most of the Democratic Party, because we're nonpartisan here on this,
of course,
right, on the stage, but most of the party is profoundly troubled by. But if we're going to be really honest about what the biggest problem for President Biden is, it's that America is ageist. That's what the biggest problem is. It's not even necessarily his positions. Now, the situation between Israel and Palestine is a little bit different, okay? So I'm separating that slightly from the commentary that I'm making. But we are absolutely ageist in America. We worship youth. So when you start to move outside of the bounds in which we consider you to be allowed to be relevant, and we have a box for where we allow you to be relevant, no matter what you have to say, unless you're Warren Buffett, who is 93 years old, but because he's worth $117 billion dollars with a B is the reason why you can still talk, sir. But when you are outside of, we've got about you hit 69 and it gets fuzzy around here in America. And I'm telling you, it starts to get fuzzy. And even Oprah, she did an interview and she said she watched the world shift in the way they related to her the minute she became 60. She said, 59, I was still seen one way, but 60, they consider you retired and something else. And she had to remake herself at 60. So Biden being now in his 80s has changed I can't tell you how many brilliant, intellectual, accomplished individuals I sit in conversations with every day who are like, he's too old for me to even consider voting for him again, regardless of what it is that he's accomplished.
And with all that's going on in the world, I am so glad he is in his 80s and has been through all the stuff that we have lived through and are living through, because experience matters. No matter what people say when they talk about, they've said it about me, you're too old, you need to move on out the way and let the young people come in. But when I feel that the young people are capable, then I'm going to move out the way. But young
move
people,
out the way.
I will.
Yeah.
But when we're trying not to teach history in schools,
Right.
clearly people don't know history, and this is old people. You're talking about all the issues that we're dealing with now with Israel and Palestinians and all that. People don't know their history. It is a lot. And when Palestinians say that they're not going to vote for a certain person because of this, look at as black people, we vote for the person that we think is going to help us get something done. And so to sit home and allow the world to roll into this chaos that it's barreling into, you've allowed it. Yeah. And so if you sit home, you allow it to continue.
I have one question. What happened to with age comes wisdom? Because
you got to teach that to young people who don't know.
You might. The funny thing is that even now, John, you can relate to this because I am teaching myself economics now and city budgeting and all of that. And I remember my dad saying, you should minor in economics if you're a political scientist. And I was like, he don't know what he's talking about. And now I'm like, okay, Dad, I'm sorry. I wish I had listened. Age does have some, and I'm not saying we're all, know everything, right. But what happens to the perspective that somebody's experiences like Biden's, he's been in politics all these years, that he has a grasp on what's happening and what will happen?
I think one of the things, though, that affects that also, as I think about it, is first of all, every generation thinks the older generation.
We
thought it too.
Because we thought about our parents. However, we also have had such a breakdown in the family structure where kids today may or may not get a chance to interact with their older relatives, to be able to sit and listen to. I mean, I used to love when my parents would have parties and stuff. We would sit on the steps and we just listen. Because you listen and you get that interaction, and it's a variety of ages and thoughts and so forth. And a lot of that isn't happening now because everybody's on their phone.
Well, and also generationally, because I do a lot of corporate leadership training, and what's interesting that in the conversation that is arising there is that a lot of the C-suite and senior leadership are having conversations with what they would consider the next generation, so 30s and 40s that would take over their roles, who are now in many of them in their late 50s, mid 60s. That generation is like, I don't want your job because I don't want what your life has become. You live for this job, waiting to work 25 years to get this beautiful gold watch, and I'd rather be on a beach. And I can make more money than you consulting or in entrepreneurship than you will make in your entire life. And you will have given a company who's going to replace you tomorrow your whole life. And I want something more than that. So generationally, we don't. I mean, I say we just because I'm still in my 40s, but when you talk about 30, and if you get to 20, they're trying to make six figures coming out of high school.
Yes, they are.
Well, they need to learn how to count.
And mind you, know nothing. Okay,
and they think when they're 26. My son tells me, he said, Mom, I don't think I'm fit to sit at a desk. He works. He's at the Bopi Innovation Center. All the projects of transportation comes to his office. They look at all of this stuff. And I said, son, let me tell you something. When you get older and you get all these jobs and you gonna go, I said, and you get up there in rank, you're going to come back to that 26-year-old and you're going to say, son, I started right where you are.
Probably not, because it will just be a computer that is handling all of that.
Yeah, that's true too.
Gaylene, let's go to you because we're running out of time and I want to make sure we get to our Carol tribute.
So, so you all covered a lot of the topics. I was going to talk about affirmative action, of course, and I wanted to say that our young people have less rights than what we had when we were their age, with no affirmative action and no Roe v. Wade. But yesterday, 2 days ago, when the 2-year-old had the gun and shot themselves.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. I said, black males have been the endangered species, which there still are. But our children are dying.
Oh, yeah.
Our children are dying in record numbers. And let me just tell you a couple stats. Just as of October, 1,300 children and teens were killed in October. Mm-hmm. Every day, 23 children.
1,300 for the year or just in October? To date. Okay.
To date.
Okay.
As of October.
Right. Got you. Okay.
Every day, 23 children and teens, 1 through 17, are shot in the United States. Among those, 6 die in gun violence, 3 are murdered, 17 children and teens survive gun injuries, 8 are intentionally shot by someone else and survive. 3 children and teens either die from gun suicide or survive in an attempted gun suicide. 8 children, now this is 8 children and teens are unintentionally shot in instances of family fire, a shooting involving an improperly stored or misused gun found in the home, resulting in injury or death. You know, this is every day. Mm-hmm. We're saying 23 children and teens are dying every day because of this right here. And we have got to get a handle on it because our children are now an endangered species.
You know, it is so amazing that you came up with that topic because, as you see here, that was my topic also. I am so worried about our young people because we're losing them. I mean, you know, so for African Americans, 11.8 children out of every 100,000 die from a gunshot wound, from guns. And Black kids die of homicide, 84% compared to white kids, it's 24%. All of it is too much. We're talking about 0 to 18. They haven't even had a chance to get into the world. What is our next generation going to look like when we're losing them?
This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that those numbers are probably, while they are very useful for conversation pieces, you know, I work in law enforcement very often, we have to be mindful that those numbers only reflect the difference of a millimeter in where the bullet hit. Because that you're not talking about how many children have been shot.
Exactly.
Right,
exactly.
These
You're
are
talking about
these
how
are the
many
homicides.
didn't make it.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. You're talking about the homicide. I talked about the 23 of all of them.
So, but if you're talking about shootings, that is a staggering number. But we don't measure violence very often in terms of who got shot. We're measuring it in terms of who died. Right. And it makes it less of an emergency if that's how we look at it.
But when we look at the news, like every day, we've had every single day, there is not a day a news cycle goes by where
that doesn't
somebody has not been shot. A young person has not been shot or killed every day. And so it really concerns me as we're looking at, you know, the next generation taking over, you know, and being able to guide us. The numbers are really falling, and it just really worries me. Dawn?
I don't know how to respond because it's been something that, you know, we've been working on for forever to change this culture of gun violence in our country.
Well, I have something how I would respond. People ask me all the time, would you consider running? And I always say no. But I would consider supporting those who are running based on the issues that I value. What I think is an optimal opportunity for this generation who understands better than any other generation the power of mental health issues and trauma is that there should be legislation. If you're not going to be able to move the needle where the NRA is concerned and where some particular voters of particular persuasion are willing to block every piece of legislation that actually regulates the ability to have access to guns, and if you're going to argue that guns don't kill people, people kill people, I'm going to let you have that argument. What I'm going to say to you is that every curriculum in the United States needs to include conflict resolution training from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Yes,
and it is required.
I agree.
And I don't mean just like, you know, this is a teeny little class you take on the side. I mean that emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, these things need to be fundamental, because if the people are in fact the problem, then let's make sure that our people can handle stress management and conflict in ways that is no longer an option. So the gun is as useless as a figment of one's imagination, because we have changed fundamentally how we believe we should relate one to another. And because much of that legislation, when it's added into things, it's often blocked. But what I'm saying is that call your senators and your legislators on the carpet about their unwillingness to ensure that they are taking care of the issue. Because stop telling me that people kill people and you won't change the people, because what that means to me is you're helping to kill people. That is not about the guns anymore. That's about the fact that you don't care. Don't tell me you
Preach. Pass the plate.
Because this is not, I'm not pushing religion down your throat. I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm not impeding on any of your parenting ability. You give me one reason why it's not healthy for all of us to be able to talk more effectively with one another, to work collaboratively with one another, to manage stress and conflict with one another. That has widespread positive impact. It will impact families in their cohesion. It will impact companies in their retention, and it will impact communities in their ability to protect each other. So anyone who says to you that it should not be in the legislation, you have blood on your hands, because you're not serious about seeing any real change.
And Delegate
I'm just telling you.
And Delegate Cliff Hayes just texted me. He said, "Amen, Sister Lyons."
I'm not playing anymore. I'll let you have your argument, but you can have your argument. I just want to make it so that no human wants to pick up that gun. Stop getting in the way of that happening.
And it's going to be really interesting in this session, because you have a new delegate in Richmond, Mike Jones, who has a bill, HB 12, that's going to be like putting a direction on there, the caution. We didn't have caution on guns, and make sure you have locks on there. Now, both houses could pass it, but it'd be interesting to see if the governor will veto it.
Right.
Because he has veto power. He has veto power.
Yeah. It's going to be
and
interesting.
that's why it's so important to vote. I know you got to leave it, but we still got to talk about Carol.
You
can't sit on this
You
side.
can talk about me anytime.
And that really comes back to the vote. Absolutely.
Right.
Okay, so our last 6 minutes, so we got to be quick, because I want each of you to say something about Carol and about her experience with us. Alvean?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll say this. One of the things generationally, Carol, because you and I are about 3 decades apart from each other, just because we've talked about it before, so we're not disclosing anything, right?
I don't mind.
Is the beauty and brilliance of a woman who has proven that there is no point in which you are irrelevant in the conversation. For those of us in my generation, we don't know what 3 decades from now would normally look like. We don't know if there's still a place for us in our society. But what you've proven is that time has no impact on one's commitment, desire, and passion to matter still and to be serious about their contributions. And for that, woman to woman, I am grateful.
Oh, that is so sweet. Before we go to you, Daun, we have somebody special that wants to say something to you, Carol.
Hello, Carol.
Yes.
This is your favorite all-time, all-decade roundtable mate, Will Levis.
Will! Oh my God!
I know, I know that when the standard is Bill Thomas, I know it's not all
He wouldn't. Go ahead, Will.
Bill is my friend. I just had to call in and join the celebration of you, and congratulations and thank you for just being such a fantastic colleague and committed to the community and sharing your insights all of your idiosyncrasies.
I love that.
Will,
Thank you
so much. And you know what? We're twice a year we're going to have the original roundtable for radio on.
All
so
right.
that's Will and Bill Thomas and Roger Chesley and Carol Pretlow. So that first one will be happening in February.
You so much.
Thanks, Will. I'm only rushing you guys because we're almost out of time. Dawn,
Okay,
go.
so I know I got to talk fast, but the one moment when we were in here that really I will never forget is when you used the N-word. And I just remember all of our looks because you said the word and it was like, what did she just say? But what I will remember the most, not only is it your calm spirit, but your love for the children and teaching.
Thank
You will forever be a teacher and a teacher of political science. Poli sci is all you. So thank you so much.
Oh, that means a lot too.
And I was going to
Gaylene.
say the same thing, that your love for children, giving back. We just talked about our children dying.
Yeah.
And so you're breathing life into the generation of your students.
Thank
You know,
you.
and we really appreciate you doing that because that's what we need to have. We need to have more Carol Pretlows.
Well, I appreciate it, but you all are too kind because I'm doing what I enjoy, so I don't really feel like I'm giving up a lot because I enjoy them even when I get angry with them. I go home and say, okay,
Well, Carol,
I'm not doing this anymore.
on behalf of the Another View crew, you know, you and I met each other back in the 90s.
Yes.
When Carol was the person to go to for anything political on TV. I was news director at Channel 3 back then, and we worked together so much. But you're just always there and
Thank you.
and steady and you bring such life and such thoughtful things to our airways. So
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you. We love you.
Well, I
You're
love
not going
you
away
guys.
anywhere.
No,
but
I'm not going anywhere.
but you know, we're going to give you a little bit of a break so that you don't have to worry about coming every month. But we do really appreciate it. I'm going to give you the last minute. 30 seconds.
Wow. Well, you all have taken my breath away because I always think about how much joy I get in coming here. And it's like this morning, I'm like, I don't know if I feel like going. I'm tired. I just finished grading. I don't think I can go. And then I get here and say, oh my God, this is so much fun. I'm enjoying this. And actually, it's the same thing that I experience in class because I get up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to retire. And every day somebody asks me, when you going to retire? And then I said, maybe today's the day. And I get in class and say, oh no, I can't do it because this is fun. You all add so much to me too.
Oh, well, we love you. We love you.
you.
We love you. And I'm going to go back to Lisa because I think we have some news about our pledge.
We do. We raised $2,328. And with our challenge money, that's $4,328. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much to everyone who became a member today or who gave in addition to their sustaining memberships or became a new member. Whatever you did, we are so very, very grateful to you. And you know what? It's not too late because we have until 1 o'clock. I know we met our match, but every little bit helps. So give us a call at 1-800-940-7170, or you can go to whrv.org and make your pledge of support there. It is just such a wonderful thing to join us. We average anywhere between 16,000 and 20,000 listeners a week. So, so we are so very, very grateful.
Good.
So we need all y'all to become members. Absolutely, all of y'all. So a very special thank you to everyone who became a first-time member of WHRO Public Media, or you increased your sustainer amount, or you just gave a little extra in support of Another View. Please give us a call, 800-940-7170, and donate now. The Another View crew is taking some much-deserved time off during the holiday. Next week at this time, special holiday programming for your listening enjoyment. Then in 2 weeks, join us for a special edition of Another View when we bring you the best of our shows in 2023. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you all. We'll be back again with you live on January 4th, 2024. Thank you so very much for listening to Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.